Palm Beach, Florida has long been synonymous with luxury, exclusivity, and affluence. Among its many storied enclaves, one strip reigns supreme, Billionaires Row, a 2-mile stretch of South Ocean Boulevard that has become a haven for the world's wealthiest. But why here? Why did billionaires flock to this area, and how long has Palm Beach been home to the uppermost echelons of society? Hi everyone, Ken here. To answer those questions, we'll need to step back in time. Hit that subscribe button and let's dive into this special Billionaires Row episode of This House. The story of Palm Beach begins in 1878 with the wreck of the Providencia, which scattered a cargo of 20,000 coconuts along the coastline. These coconuts were quickly planted, giving rise to the lush groves that inspire the town's name. But it wasn't until Henry Flagler arrived in the 1890s that Palm Beach transformed from a tropical wilderness into a winter haven for America's elite. Flagler, a Standard Oil magnate, saw the potential of the area and turned his vision into reality. He built grand hotels like the Breakers and extended the Florida East Coast Railway southward, making the area easily accessible for the northern elite. By the early 1900s, Palm Beach had become a magnet for wealth and power, forever establishing itself as a playground for high society. As the town grew, its northern, central, and southern sections took on distinct identities. The central areas revolved around Flagler's iconic hotels, while the southern tip evolved into today's Billionaires Row, a secluded retreat for those seeking unparalleled oceanfront real estate. The first to settle in Palm Beach were the early industrial magnates, whose sprawling estates set the tone for the opulence that would follow. And there's no better place to start our tour of Old Palm Beach than with Whitehall, the magnificent estate of none other than Henry Flagler himself. Whitehall is a masterpiece of the Gilded Age, a home that seems almost mythical in its elegance and scale. Built in 1902 for Henry Flagler and his third wife, Mary Lily Keenan, this grand estate was more than just a winter retreat, it was a bold statement of wealth and ambition. Designed by Carrere and Hastings, the same architects behind some of America's most iconic buildings, Whitehall was Flagler's gift to Mary Lily upon their marriage, a gesture that exemplified the lavish excess of the era. Palm Beach was already on the rise as a winter escape for America's elite, thanks to Flagler's vision. His railroads and luxury hotels had turned the once remote area into a thriving resort destination, but Whitehall elevated Palm Beach's status to new heights. When it was unveiled, the New York Herald declared it to be more wonderful than any place in Europe, and for good reason. Its Beaux-Arts design, inspired by classical architecture, combined grandeur with modernity, creating a home that rivaled the greatest mansions of Newport, Rhode Island, while embracing the tropical charm of Florida. Whitehall was not a mere imitation of European grandeur, it was uniquely American. Its open-air central courtyard reflected the Mediterranean influences of its surroundings, while the interiors dazzled with marble columns, gilded ceilings, and frescoed walls. Every room was a celebration of artistry and craftsmanship, from the opulent drawing room to the grand staircase where every detail spoke of refinement. Unlike the sprawling estates of the Northeast, Whitehall was surrounded by natural, untamed landscaping, letting the vibrant Florida greenery serve as its frame. Henry and Mary Lily's life at Whitehall was a showcase of Palm Beach's golden age. The couple arrived each winter aboard their private railcar, which pulled directly into town, underscoring the exclusivity of their lifestyle. Inside the mansion, they entertained guests in a style befitting America's uppermost echelons, with Whitehall serving as the backdrop to glittering parties and intimate gatherings alike. But Whitehall's story took a dark turn when Henry Flagler's life ended from a slip down his grand marble staircase. After some uncertainty about the estate's future and some questionable renovations in the following decades, it was eventually restored and opened to the public as a museum. Next we'll head over to an estate that most of you have probably heard of, Mar-a-Lago. Marjorie Merriweather Post Mar-a-Lago is a monument to an era of extraordinary wealth and ambition, a gilded masterpiece that redefined luxury on the shores of Palm Beach. Completed in 1927, this sprawling estate was designed to dazzle, built with a $7 million budget, a staggering figure for the time, and equivalent to over $100 million today. It embodied the roaring opulence of the 1920s and showcased Post's status as one of the wealthiest and most influential women of the era. Post, heirs to the Postum cereal company, which would later become General Foods, envisioned Mar-a-Lago as more than just a home. With its name meaning sea to lake, the property was uniquely situated, spanning from the Atlantic Ocean to Lake Worth. Mar-a-Lago was designed by Marion Sims Wyeth, with interiors by Joseph Urban, incorporating 58 bedrooms, 33 bathrooms, imported Italian stone, and 36,000 Spanish tiles. Gold-plated fixtures and intricate marble details filled the house, making it a verifiable palace and one of the most extravagant private residences ever constructed in the United States. But Marjorie Post was not merely a collector of mansions, she was a hostess with a philanthropic heart. Her New York Times obituary later remarked that she built Mar-a-Lago because her first Florida home simply became too small for her parties. And what parties they were! Post gatherings were legendary, hosting royalty, diplomats, and Palm Beach society at elaborate dinners, charity balls, and even circus performances. Yet she ensured these events served a higher purpose, often raising funds for underprivileged children or local causes. In one memorable instance, she invited the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus to perform for a charity event, blending spectacle with generosity. By the mid-20th century, many similar estates were being demolished as taste and economic reality shifted. However, Mar-a-Lago survived thanks to Post's foresight. She willed the estate to the federal government in 1973, intending it to serve as a winter White House for presidents and foreign dignitaries. Yet the upkeep proved too costly, and the government returned the property to the Post Foundation in 1981. A few years later, in 1985, it was purchased by then businessman and real estate heir Donald Trump. It has since been converted into a club, though part of it serves as a temporary residence and much of the gilded interiors do remain intact. In a way, it has met Post's intentions as serving as a winter White House. As Palm Beach continued to grow, it attracted one of the wealthiest families America had ever seen, the Vanderbilts. In nearby Manalapan, Harold S. Vanderbilt constructed Eastover in 1929. It went on to be owned by the Hearst family and continues to be used as a private residence. Similarly, his older sister, Canuela Vanderbilt, purchased an estate on nearby Hypoluxo Island, which she named Casa Alva after their mother. Canuela was used to living in palaces, both figuratively and literally, and had previously been married to the 9th Duke of Marlborough, where her parents' money was used to restore Blenheim Palace. For her, this was a private retreat, far smaller than any house she had ever known. Nonetheless, she had the rooms fitted with antique French wall panels and brought in fine furnishings to bring it up to her standards. Being so secluded, it provided her with a tranquil escape that was just a short boat ride away from high society. It too continues to stand. But not all of these grand estates could be so fortunate. Our next stop is Playa Riante, the winter home of Anna Dodge. The estate had originally been designed by Addison Meisner in 1923 for the Cosden family. However, their fortune was short-lived, and in 1926 they sold the estate to Anna Dodge, the widow of automobile magnate Horace Dodge. By the 1950s, she was ready to sell the estate, but no buyers could be found. After failed attempts at rezoning it for use as a school or a club, it was eventually demolished in 1957. Our next mansion, Casa Apava, was designed on a similar scale for Chester and Frances Bolton by architect Abram Garfield, the son of President James Garfield. Frances was born into the wealthy Bingham family from Cleveland and inherited an unfathomable fortune from her uncle, Oliver Hazard Payne, who had ties to Standard Oil. Casa Apava was as much about function as it was about form. The residence was designed for entertaining on a grand scale, with first-floor living areas overlooking the ocean and opening onto terraces and loggias. The interiors were richly detailed, featuring painted ceilings, tiled floors, and European furnishings, many sourced from nearby Meisner Industries. Highlights included the library, with its polychrome ceiling and quarry tile floors, and the dining room, where faux marble painted concrete floors and east-facing windows captured the Florida sunshine. Beyond its aesthetic appeal, Casa Apava was built to withstand the test of time. Its structural innovations, such as stucco over structural tile walls and reinforced concrete, allowed it to weather nearly a century of storms and changing ownership. Yet the estate remained adaptable, with thoughtful additions like a spacious library wing added in 1928, complementing the original design while enhancing its livability. For as over-the-top as some of these mansions might appear, our next one is relatively reserved, considering its owner. Ned Stotesbury, who was one of the wealthiest financiers at the time, became known for building some of the largest homes in the U.S. Famously, his Lost Pennsylvania palace, known as White Marsh Hall, is still counted among the 10 biggest mansions ever built in America. Ned, along with his wife Lucretia, hired Addison Meisner to design El Mirasol. When it was completed in 1920, it had a private zoo, a 40-car garage, and 37 rooms, which was quite humble for the couple. Following Ned's passing, the family's fortune dried up, which ultimately led to El Mirasol's demolition in 1957. As time marched on, the grand estates of Palm Beach gave way to a new era of affluence, one that has cemented the island's reputation as the ultimate enclave for the world's wealthiest. While some of the Gilded Age mansions like White Hall and Mar-a-Lago survived as iconic landmarks, many were lost to redevelopment or the changing taste of the mid-20th century. Yet the spirit of opulence they embodied lived on, evolving with the times. Today, Palm Beach is better known by its modern moniker, Billionaires Row, the stretch of South Ocean Boulevard that was once home to winter retreats for industrial magnates and socialites has transformed into a magnetic field for the ultra-wealthy. It's estimated that nearly 60 billionaires now own property in Palm Beach. Despite the unrelenting march of time, the essence of Palm Beach remains the same, a place where luxury, privacy, and exclusivity reign supreme. From the gilded palaces of the early 20th century to the sleek, modern estates of today, Palm Beach continues to reflect the ever-shifting story of American wealth and ambition, a shimmering jewel that retains its place at the pinnacle of high society. And so, while the players may have changed, the game remains the same. Palm Beach is still a haven for those who seek the best life has to offer. What did you think about Palm Beach's historic estates? Did you have a favorite? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.